James Kalm, Rough Cut viewers. It's your half-assed correspondent. And today, we're gonna run into Studio 10. Right before closing, the last day of the exhibition. Okay, we're gonna talk to Suzanne Joelson.
Hello.
And the name of the show is?
Slipping Systems.
Slipping Systems. I had a technical question. This image that you're working with here, this is some kind of a digital print that was
Yes.
done for a outside advertising or something like that?
Exactly.
And this is some kind of nylon fabric?
It's a digital print on a nylon fabric that was used to cover the construction site for a supermarket that was opening by the Palm Port at the World Trade Center. Gary, my husband and I kept running past it, and I always loved the wood grain. And at some point we noticed that one part of it was down, and I finally went in and asked. We stole the first piece, which is this.
You stole it?
Actually,
Okay.
it wasn't stolen.
All right.
They had it in the trash, but there we were.
All
running,
right.
we picked up
You
the
repurposed it, yes.
And in fact, this slip is from where one piece ended, and that was the shape of the tear, and then this piece ended, and that was the shape of the tear. And there was something about making an element out of the space between two errors. And at the time, I was thinking a lot about how information gets passed along, how pain gets remembered, gets transferred from generation to generation. And so I took that image and then traced it here, but in a different vocabulary.
So we'll see more of that, kind of you're borrowing shapes and repeating patterns and maybe
Right.
blowing them up or shrinking them down. And I like the little kind of pointillism here. Let's keep moving down the line.
This one is, gee, I just forgot the name of it. Massaging Kale.
Massaging kale, all right.
And
this is also part of the same piece of
all of these paintings except
printed
one
fabric.
are using the graphic from the supermarket.
And how about?
It gave me a way of shifting my scale, but also having something. A lot of people see this and don't recognize what it is at first, and then once they know it's kale, it becomes kale. But there was something about. There's also something about the coincidence of these paintings, which I was about to paint over, and I had them leaning against the wall in the studio when I unraveled the kale piece and realized that they met each other, that they camouflaged into each other. So camouflage and that whole thing of not knowing where your edges are, that's an aspect of camouflage.
So you sort of coming out of Cubism and maybe Cubist collage and things like this, and the paint, this is acrylic paint that you're actually doing, the brushwork and the coloring. You know, I thought this was a really punchy piece here. I love this one.
Thank you.
What's the title of this? I always like to tease people with the title parts.
I don't remember.
We'll just call it Piece with Two Green Rakes in there.
Exactly. It's one rake that broke. It was in the back of my studio, and finally it got repurposed. I'm about to look up the title.
Okay, and I like the way that you've broken this down into the four panels, and then you have this, the void, the empty part in the section, which kind of plays with the idea of the frame in a reverse, in that these actually frame an empty space.
Right. Something that had happened with these is there are a bunch that take the three panels, and instead of slipping and shifting and rotating, they make something that almost would go Fibonacci, 1, 2, 3.
Fibonacci series, okay, yeah.
And then
8,
and then you'll see
13.
the next one, it goes to 8 that way. But the other thing was to take the fourth panel, and instead of coming down here to make 8, to rotate it in and make something. It almost becomes a swastika, but it is actually a form that Corbusier used. And I got rather interested in Corbusier's structures. So
Okay.
this is a lot like his floor plan for a museum in Japan.
This is probably the largest piece here.
Definitely the largest piece. And this is the one that's the most specifically, you can see that system and then it gets mirrored up there. So there is something about repeating and rhyming things.
Well, you have been in the New York art scene for quite a while, for such a young lady. Tell me about some of the people, some of the other New York artists that might have influenced you. I was thinking maybe Robert Mangold or somebody like that, somewhere.
Well, I love Robert Mangold's work. I mean, I really love his work. But I don't think of him as an influence in these, so it's interesting to me that you do. I mean, I don't think anyone's ever mentioned that in terms of this. But I actually, he's somebody I look at. I thought his drawing show and pace was amazing.
Yes, no, it was beautiful. Beautiful.
But when I first got to New York, I worked as the liaison with Rauschenberg and Johns from Merce Cunningham. I was stage
Really?
manager in charge of scenery and costumes. So,
Can you dance a little bit for us?
no, I cannot.
Okay,
But,
that's pretty good.
but then the task was to make work that wasn't influenced by Rauschenberg, wasn't influenced by Johns. And I avoided that obvious influence and that real love for so long as I learned more about art. And at some point, I came back to what I just naturally do. And there's something, Jesper has such great systems about the way he works. And that you keep interrogating an image and you don't know what will finally...
Right, you do something to it and then you do something else to it. And,
Yeah, quite literally.
okay, let's
Quote the master.
come up and look at these two pieces. I was actually talking to Larry, the gallerist here, and he pointed out the fact that this piece, your blue forms actually echo the shapes of these canvases you've got here, and I thought that was very nice.
So this seems like the anomaly in the show, in that this is the vinyl from a building that went up next to my building that was an advertisement for penthouses in Tribeca or something.
Now, are these are on wooden panels? Is that all of them are
This is a
on?
wood panel, but these
wooden or
vinyl
masonry?
pieces are from the vinyl that was wrapping
Yes.
on scaffolding. And I got that and I started using the color and started using pieces that had text. You can see how beaten up the blue is. And then it
We
also
like the stressed
reveals
surface.
The way in which I placed these things in a slapdash way, painted it, and then moved them into a more orderly way so that what's left reveals the order in which they were painted.
And how about this piece? Again, I like this, like the rakes, you've got this piece of screen that kind of functions, and part of it is a flat graphic thing, and then it extends over and out into space in its own right.
Yeah, I think something happens when you're really in the studio where just whatever works comes to mind. So I thought I had wanted to continue that line there, and then I realized I wanted a dark line up there, and I didn't want to paint in a shadow. There was a piece of screen, and I put it up, and it seemed like it hinted at a panel being able to go that way without doing much more.
I also like your use of pattern here. You've got the plaid, and then you've got this kind of, I don't know what you call it, scalloped forms, but in a grid that's kind of nice. As a matter of fact, I had a wonderful teacher, Knox Martin, that used to talk about kitchen colors, and this kind of has those kind of nice, comforting kitchen colors, and I think those are a couple of eggs in there. So.
They are. One of the first thing that happened with this was I had an image that had from the supermarket that had a dozen eggs, and I realized that when I cropped it down, I had what seemed to me to be these amazingly erotic crotches.
Okay, yes.
So,
we'll just keep them as eggs. They could be a lot of things, I
They
guess.
can be a lot of things, exactly.
And I like the way that you've kind of echoed those shapes over here with the white circles. Okay,
Yeah,
Suzanne,
language.
thanks for giving us a little tour.
Well, thank you so much. I've always loved your paintings, and I.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks. And tell us,
I love watching your videos. I'm proud to be on one.
tell us what the name of the show is again.
Slipping Systems.
Slipping Systems. Here is Studio 10, 56 Bogart Street, in the heart of Bushwick. Zierhersmith. We're going to take a stroll through an exhibition by Christoph Ruckhäberle. Well, I came in here probably 2 years ago and saw an exhibition by Christoph that I thought was interesting. The entire gallery was wallpapered in a kind of a schlockadelia pop art version of psychedelic colors. It was actually nice. Well, they talk about Christoph as being one of the main proponents of the new Leipzig School. And I think he's probably maybe a generation or a decade younger than Neo Rausch and Roseloy. But he got a lot of attention with, I guess, 4 or 5 other people that came out of the Leipzig Academy. This is titled Netsuke 50, 2016. Actually, I'm kind of liking this. See that there's a lot of masking tape. We kind of look at some of these stripes and you can see the bleeds. The other thing is he's got a very nice surface. This is all enamel. That's what I was thinking. And nice color things happening. This is titled Netsuke 57, so I guess this is all basically a series titled Netsuke, and I'll read a little bit from the press release. Okay, this piece is 16 by 20. In his newest series of works, Christoph Ruckhäberle pushes his methods of painting on canvas, replacing his oil paints with dramatic contrasts rendered in high-gloss enamel. Influenced by his experience as a master printmaker accustomed to creating compositions with an economy of means. Oh, that's nice. The artist exploits various techniques of drawing, cutting, and taping to achieve stark juxtapositions of flatness and depth. And, well, he's also a great colorist. The bold pigments are not mixed, and in fact, different hues react to one another to create inconsistencies that themselves become the attestations of painterly gesture. Okay. Well, so that was some good art critical jive. This piece is 17 by 25. I actually kind of like these, I would say, medium to small scale easel sizes. And I think another thing is that this makes me think of Picasso's, I think they called him his cloisonné period. This is in the mid-30s. And yeah, this flatness and these areas of unmodulated color very nice. You can see that there's, well, some bleeding under the tape. It's a little bigger. This is 24 by 28. You know, there's a great kind of an optical thing that is happening with these stripes where the light blue crosses over the whites. You get a little kind of a glimmer. I think de Kooning talked about that with Mondrian's paintings. I like the way that he's handling this right arm a little differently than the rest of the body. It's Netsuke 58. Well, one of the fun things about working in a series like this is that he kind of is able to pull in art historical references. So as you go through and look at the various pieces, you kind of think about or riff on where he's kind of biting somebody's other composition or maybe the color things. It's number 59, and I like the Harlequin plaid. You know, there's also a certain amount of overpainting I can see where there are the ridges of other cut areas. Oh, maybe that's the background that's coming through. The artist has been widely reviewed, including several reviews in the New York Times, which first described the work as refreshingly unlike the usual painterly fare in Chelsea. Good. We don't want to be like the regular painterly fare in Chelsea. It's number 61. You know, if we pulled out these figurative elements, basically have just some nice geometric abstractions. This is a nice coloristic piece. It's number 48, 16 by 24. Oh, and it's got some, maybe that's inadvertent texture in there, maybe threw some sand in, I don't know. Well, the enamel does give you a different sense of surface. You know, I also appreciate his kind of cubist aspects where he'll design, well, like these hands, kind of just boil them down to basic geometric forms. Number 45. These are all basically reclining nudes. They're all, well, I'd say about 50% are reclining to the left, and the other 50% are reclining to the right. It's number 64. Yeah, imagine if you were working on a series like this in the studio that you don't really have time to get too finicky, so you let a lot of the painterly incidences, the blips and tumors and bleeds and the drips and painterly things just happen, and well, I like that. This is a really punchy piece. It kind of makes me think of a Miro. And oh gosh, he's even got some brush strokes in there that he's left in. It's titled Netsuke 49. Very punchy colors. Probably has cans of these colors rather than having to mix them on a palette. So this is James Kalm reporting on new paintings by Christoph Ruckhäberle. Here at Zierhersmith, 516 West 20th Street in Chelsea. Thank you, Kate.